Discover how to heal trauma with EFT in today's episode with Sophia Torrini. Sophia is a certified clinical EFT practitioner and NCS trainer under Dr. Joe Dispenza, specializing in hacking reality and meta-consciousness to help individuals break free from negative thought patterns, reduce stress, and achieve lasting clarity and calm. So please, Sophia, tell us how entrepreneurs can heal trauma with EFT. Heal podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Okay, so a lot of times the trauma that we have, first of all, holds us back. So we create limiting beliefs, and we also have this physical bodily sensation in our body that often prevents us from taking action. So let's address what trauma is. Trauma is some experience you had that was very intense and you were unable to process, maybe because you were young or whatever the reasons are. That information stays in the body because there was chemistry that was produced when the event took place. And that chemistry carries information, and it's there for us to go and resolve it. So EFT is an energy healing modality that, by using principles of cognitive psychotherapy and physically tapping on certain body meridian points, we move stuck energy that's been holding us back. So I'm pretty sure you've had the experience, maybe it's public speaking, or your very first time or whatever, that you wanted to speak publicly and you got this anxiety and you got this knot, right? That knot was information of unprocessed emotional information with some limiting beliefs based on some prior experience you had. And a lot of times we push through it, but we reach a point in our lives that just pushing through it constantly leaves us feeling we're imposters or whatever. So the best way is actually to release those emotions, heal those limiting beliefs, and replace it and see the truth of who we truly are.
Thank you. So in terms of where you would need to do the tapping in order to release the trauma, can you tell us where this happens? And also, what kind of empowering beliefs tend to be said in at the same time as doing the tapping?
Okay, so first we'll have to always clear. So a lot of people want to go to the positive affirmations. It actually doesn't work that way. It's going to not work in your favor. So you want to clear first the limiting belief and the emotion. And we tap on several body meridian points. I could show you. We use the side of the hand, the crown, here, 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 under the arms and under the breast, and we use the wrist because there's a lot of meridian points that come through these lines. So once we clear that, now we can replace it. Often enough, let's assume a scenario that's pretty dramatic. You did go to do a presentation and everybody said how horrible it was, and they made fun of you, and let's say they threw eggs at you. I'm just exaggerating. Right? That, by simple tapping or doing just a plain affirmation over it, is not going to cover it. So we usually need to go to that version of yourself, clear that, and then we can re-imprint, and I'm going to explain this in a second, re-imprint a more empowering memory with a new belief and a new emotion. Now we can start tapping and putting some affirmations and then go and have our speech again. And I'm going to explain the reason why. So traumatic memories like this one are stored as high definition in the hippocampus, and they constantly are getting triggered. So we want to timestamp them properly. They're not timestamped properly. We want to remove them from the hippocampus, neutralize the limiting belief, and store it in the neocortex, or, as a normal memory. And neurons are memories are held between neurons. So what we're doing is we're pruning that connection, and by you re-imprinting a new image, you're creating a new memory of yourself. And now you can feel empowered, and it's going to feel true going. Maybe your cognitive shift was that these kids were paid to do that, or maybe, there was something else you did, right? So you have a shift and you see it from a different point of view, so it doesn't have a hold on you.
Thank you. Let's take a practical example. So, for example, in my case, I remember that I had my very first speaking experience at 4 years old, and I was due to speak and sing, and in front of 2,000 people, parents and children. And I was really terrified because my grandma had punished me before. She had, hit me, kind of telling me, you better be good on stage. And I was terrified first because she was in the audience and I knew she would beat me after as well. And she was generally very, like this very angry person, and she would beat me every day. So after the session, she did beat me. And so I was afraid of that. So I couldn't remember any word that from what I had to sing. And even the presenter asked me my name and I couldn't remember my name as well. So in a case like this, coupled with, multiple other traumas. First of all, would you first do a tapping exercise for every single trauma that happened? Imagine that I have many. Or would you do this kind of exercise one time only? How many times would I need to?
Okay, so imagine it's a table, right? So you have a lot of limiting beliefs and they're all mixed up there, some similar, some whatever. And this table has 4 legs. Often enough, if you knock off 2 legs, or at least 3, the table collapses. So in other words, you don't always need to do all of them. Maybe you pick a couple from each group. Usually if you do the more intense one and you work and re-imprint it, is going to collapse it, because I'm pretty sure after that experience you told me, later in life when it came for you to perform, you must have had a lot of anxiety and you had to do a lot of work to overcome it. And I'm sure from speaking to you realized this was an issue this person had and it had nothing to do with you. It was her anger. And that's the cognitive shift we want the individual to have.
Yes. And in terms of, for example, I had multiple other traumas. For example, my mother used to be beaten every day by her, boyfriend. Well, she actually had multiple boyfriends, not at the same time. And somehow she picked out these kind of men that would always beat her. And then she would, let them go and she would have another one, and the same one, the same situation would be in a cycle. And I remember being very, very scared in general. And also my father, left me when I was 3 years old, and I didn't really see him apart from like once a year. So I have this abandonment wound. So there's a lot of different traumas that I have that I think are, I'm still working my way through them. So for someone like me who has, let's say, multiple of these traumas, what would you have them do to weaken the strength of these traumas and to make the person feel more powerful and more in control of new situations that occur?
Okay, so I'm happy to address it, but let me ask you, what have you tried so far and how effective has it been?
I think for the abandonment wound, I don't think I have done anything in particular. So I'm finding that the way it manifests is through maybe people that mistreat me sometimes. And I'm also thinking that although you can say I've spoken in front of thousands of people and I continue to do it, I still feel that I have a fear of visibility, which is interesting enough because I teach visibility, right? But I have a fear of visibility in the sense that I am still not showing up fearlessly. like, yes, I'm still showing up, but I think that in my topic of expertise, for example, I have Awakened Titans podcast, and I have other podcasts as well where I interview people, but I have not yet started my own podcast where I talk about my own stuff, and that fear kind of appears to be there. So
from little talking to you, what you're trying to do, which a lot of people do, they use their willpower and they push through. But the pattern, no matter how much you do that, is not ever going to leave you, because energy can never be created or destroyed. So just pushing through is probably zapping your energy. And then you're pushing through, you have good results, maybe you have a little high for a little bit, but the next time around, the pattern comes up again. So given that situation, there's always an original imprint. I would work with the person. In this case, I would work with you. Don't know how many sessions, depends how open the person is, but usually a minimum of 10. We're not talking years here, like therapy. And we would have to go through those experiences, not for you to relive them. So that's important to know. We just want to feel the emotion so the emotion can be released. And a lot of EFT practitioners do not coordinate the brain and where the awareness is supposed to go. So if you do that, it won't be forever that you would work with someone and then you have the tools, because we always teach the person how to tap by themselves afterwards. And if you have re-imprinted with me or some other practitioner those memories are going to fade. For example, I had a pretty challenging upbringing, and the memories have almost faded. And they've only have faded within the last year and a half to 2. So that means up to my life to this point, they were actively there and I was getting triggered. And that is the power of EFT. They're like getting wiped out, as if they never happened, or if they did happen, I don't know, they're just not as important. It was like some chapter in my life I don't remember. That's where we would like to have every person who comes for EFT. Now, you're not going to have that tightness or that bodily sensation or that anxiety or even that memory or the need to talk about it, because it's gone. You've moved to bigger and better things.
Thank you. Tell us what else should entrepreneurs consider when it comes to healing trauma with EFT?
Well, I think having a plan. So they need to first have a vision, right? What it is they want. Identify what trauma they want. And then I offer them also, what trauma they want, how they want to be, how their life is going to be improved. Because a vision statement is not just what they want to do. It has to have actions, how they're going to feel, how it's going to benefit people. It's like a whole little paragraph there, right? But I also give them tools. There's a class I teach that Dr. Joe Dispenza has created, a neuroscience class that we identify, because a lot of people know they have trauma. Some people don't remember their trauma, or some people know they have trauma, but they don't know what their limiting beliefs is and what's keeping them stuck. So the neuroscience course, that is a lot of hands-on, and it's always done live. It's not a pre-recorded. They can sit and identify what it is their limiting beliefs. And then, of course, we continue after the course is over for 30 days. So every day they can do mental rehearsal of how they want to be, just like an athlete, right? An athlete, before the race, he envisions the race. He maybe has a trial run, whatever he does, but he also keeps his vision. And the day of the race, they're able to race very well. And if obstacles come, some of them visualize, in case there's an obstacle, what am I going to do to overcome it? So they prepare themselves for anything that comes their way. And so that's what I would do. Someone who's an entrepreneur, it's not just a straightforward that things work with the flow. Unexpected things come out of nowhere. And so what resilience skills do you have? And every traumatic experience, once healed, it actually gives us a skill set. You realize maybe how strong you were that you went through it once it's healed. But if it's still active, you always feel small and feel victimized. And that is really taxing our energy field. And we're always forcing them to do another thing on the checklist, another, and there's no spark. For an entrepreneur, the best I can offer or suggest is after their trauma is healed, to find joy in what it is that they want to deliver or what it is that they're creating. And joy is the highest excitement, and now they can be very successful.
Thank you. For me, every time I organize a large event, I find that I organize it and everything goes well. But what I find is that I have a lot of self-doubt and self-sabotage. So how this manifests is typically with illness the day of the event or the day before the event. So for example, like migraine, sore throat, cough, so much so that I'm pushing through, but it feels a lot like pushing a car uphill without petrol. So what would you have an entrepreneur do to remove like self-sabotage and self-doubt? And what would they say? Like, for example, let's say they do the tapping, and then from there, what would they say to kind of eliminate that kind of pattern?
So let's backtrack for a second. When the body causes resistance, in this case is your body causing resistance and the fear manifesting as illness, right? Because the personality, the subconscious mind is the body, and it's the body that's holding the beliefs. I think the audience needs to be clear that the physical body is the subconscious mind, and Candace Perth got a Harvard researcher proved that years ago. So if you're experiencing that pattern constantly, that means you have not cleared, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, the original imprint. So I wouldn't say, what does the person need to say? When we truly want to heal, it's not just the mind that does the healing. The body has to be involved, and the emotions need to be released. They're going to get more effect if the person sits and feels the fear, and then it dissipates. Now they can say the empowering thing again. But if you're having that resistance constantly, your body is telling you, I understand what you want to do, but I don't find it safe because X, Y, and Z is running in the background, and you have actually waged a war with part of yourself. So your conscious mind is fighting with your body. That's the subconscious mind. Our job is to release these programs and eventually integrate them with new high-level conscious beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So tell us, for example, what would I do to kind of start releasing that? Aside from working with you, is there anything small that I can do right now?
Yeah. You can start tapping and connecting with the body, allowing that illness. So even though I have this event tomorrow, and this seems to be an old pattern, I somehow get sick before the event, I know that my body is doing this because it assumes I'm not safe. I'm open to feeling what my emotions are. I inform my body that I'm safe right now, and I'm ready to let this pattern go. But whatever words come to you, but you're connecting while you're tapping where that sensation is. It might be a tightness, or you might be having a runny nose, or the migraine. Okay, so your awareness is on the migraine. While we're tapping, especially for this one, because if the body is creating this resistance, it's usually because when you had that early experience, it deemed that it wasn't safe. So let's take an example. You were going to go as a young child to perform, and you knew before that you were going to be beaten, and unfortunately you did get beaten. So that memory has not been resolved. It's always playing in the background. So now you have an event, even though it's not singing, you're still presenting. Your body's going to make you sick to convince you not to do that because that program is still running. That's why you keep on getting that. So that original imprint has to be cleared by feeling what the younger self felt when she was 4. expressing perhaps in the matrix when we do the re-imprinting, maybe the frustration and anger and how unfair the grandmother was. So that energy can be released from the body. Now, if you clear that, I guarantee you, I almost 100% guarantee you that next time that happens, you will not be ill before an event. Now, I do want to address one more thing in the tapping. A lot of people don't do that. So if we have fear or we sabotage, we usually do shallow breaths to the chest. Our job is to breathe consciously inside the belly, because in the first three energy centers is where the majority of emotions are stored. And your breath is your awareness. And also belly breathing calms the system down to ensure you're safe. So you are trying with the tapping to keep me reminding the body, I am safe right now. I know you're projecting my event tomorrow, but this moment, I am safe. Now, there could be a possibility that there is a secondary gain. And what do I mean about that? So maybe this entrepreneur doesn't want to do well because they feel if they do well, maybe there's a promotion afterwards, and the fear of that promotion is too big. So they unconsciously keep themselves small because they don't feel they can move forward to handle it, right? Or if it's an illness, it could be a clear secondary gain. They're getting additional attention and additional love from people. So if the illness were to go away, they believe it's not necessarily the truth that they would lose that support and love.
Thank you. So what kind of words should be said in order to release these kind of traumas when you're doing the EFT?
Okay. So it's not actually about the words, it's what the individual is feeling. So we start with the emotion. Where do we feel it in the body? What is the event in the now moment? And then we always add towards the end, I honor this is what I'm feeling. I deeply and completely accept myself. I wouldn't use I love myself if you hate yourself. So you try to use some sentence that resonates and also put a positive twist, right? So you have the emotion, the event, and the negative feeling that is there. You want to put something positive. You know what? I'm tired of this. I'm ready to let this pattern go. Something a little bit more positive. I wouldn't go to the extreme because it's going to show a big gap from the conscious to the subconscious. So you want to ease your way through to it. So I'm not a firm believer that, let's say you're working on a big project and you say, oh, I got the 200 people. For the mind, 200 people might be a huge thing to see, right? So we want to break it down in chunks so we can engage our brain to work with us. Because if you give it a huge goal, it's going to freeze.
Thank you. So for the abandonment wound, how would someone start to heal that trauma with EFT?
Okay, so you would clear your emotions for the now and the anger or whatever feelings as the adult self, knowing what happened. Then, after we get brain and heart coherent, so connecting the heart with the brain, that's what it means, we go and find the younger self. So in this case, he left when you were 3?
Yes.
Okay, so you would connect with your 3-year-old. We would transmit some love to the 3-year-old and tell the 3-year-old that she can express everything she wants without judgment. And then we ask what the 3-year-old is feeling, because you may be feeling angry because of that abandonment, but the 3-year-old, because she's 3-year-old, might have terror how she's going to survive. So we have to wait. Most people think that the 3-year-old and your current self have the same emotion, and I'm here to tell you they don't. They actually don't. So we want to hear, and a lot of people jump the gun and say, well, this is what I was feeling. No. We have to wait to get the answer. So once we get the answer, we tap with her. She expresses whatever she wants to express. And definitely a trauma like that, I would re-imprint. with a new positive belief and a new positive emotion that you can actually feel in the now. Because we want new chemistry. We want every time we re-imprint to replace that old chemistry, which was low frequency, with an elevated chemistry. So every time you have a feeling, there is a cocktail of chemicals that get produced inside the body from the limbic brain and are stored in every cell of your body. Not one, every single cell. So once you let out, let's say, the fear or the terror, and it moved out of the system, now you're going to bring, in this case, usually would be recommended the feeling of safety or whatever the younger self wants.
Thank you. Yes, I would say terror and fear was definitely a big part of it, because I remember my mom used to leave me alone a lot for long periods of time because she was at work and she had nobody to kind of look after us. So my brother and I would get into a lot of trouble, kind of like staying alone at home from a very, from baby kind of age. So it was very scary. I remember at a certain point I was afraid to go to the hallway because I was so terrified of what the hallway might have. So what would I say, for example? Would it be that I would say that even though when I was a child, I was used to be very...
No. Well, when you tap to the now, you can say, so let's go through. Let's just go over. Thinking about the event now, that you were left by yourself, what is it that you're feeling and where are you feeling it?
I think I'm feeling first, scared. And
now thinking about it, not then, now.
I think I pretended for a long time that I don't feel anything about it. I don't care.
I don't believe that would be true. So is it possible any anger or any... So often we cut off those parts of ourselves when we don't feel disassociation because you determined that that version of you is not going to help you. So if you were to just find some love in your heart and just bring one of those memories, not the younger self, bring one of those memories of being left by yourself with your brother, or the hallway is a good example. What is it that you're feeling?
I don't feel anything now.
Okay. So in that case, I would do a few rounds with you so the emotions come up. I would clear the now, and then I would go to the younger self. Let's see if you can... I'm not going to do this, but let's find some love in your heart. Someone you love truly.
You want me to think of someone I love?
Yeah.
Yes, I have someone.
Can you radiate it around your heart?
Yeah.
And can you fill your body with that love, every cell of your body with that love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, go back in time, and if you can close your eyes for 1 second, it won't be for too long. Can you find that 3-year-old? Can you bring an image of her, and she's 3 years old?
So I actually don't have any image of me at that age. I don't remember how I used to be, but I can remember 4 years old for sure.
Okay. So 4-year-old, just the sensation. You don't have to have a full-blown image. She's left by herself. She doesn't know when her mom is going to come, and she's scared of the hallway. Give her that love you have from your heart and transmit it to her heart. And maybe bring her close to you and say to her, I'm here to help you. I'm not going to judge you. You can say anything you want, and I'm here to support you. And once she agrees to that, ask her the question. What is she feeling now? She's 4 years old. The mom is not there, and she's scared of the hallway. Let's ask her, what is it that she's feeling?
She's feeling abandoned and scared and unloved and unwanted.
And where is she feeling it in her body?
In her heart.
Okay. And what is her belief?
That she doesn't matter.
She does not matter. Okay. So let's tap on her. Might as well tap. You can open up your eyes. So you're tapping on her. So we're going to use third word sentences. So even though you would tap yourself. So even though you feel so abandoned, I'm tapping on my hand. And you would be doing the same thing when you were working. It would only work if you can you tap?
Yes.
Okay. So even though you feel so abandoned and you feel it in your heart,
Okay.
Yeah, you have to repeat, otherwise the tapping doesn't work.
Okay. So even though I feel,
No, you feel. We're tapping on the younger self.
okay, even though you feel
So abandoned.
so abandoned, unwanted, unloved, scared,
You feel it in your heart.
and you feel it in your heart,
And you feel you don't matter.
and you feel you don't matter,
You're a lovely young child.
you're a lovely young child.
I'm really sorry you had this experience.
I'm really sorry you had this experience.
And it's not your fault. Right here, right now, you're safe and okay.
Right here, right now, you're safe and okay.
And even though you feel so abandoned, scared, and no one seems to care, or you don't seem to matter.
And even though you're so abandoned and nobody seems to care, and you feel unwanted and unloved,
I am really sorry you've been left alone.
I'm really sorry you've been left alone.
And your mother should have made plans.
And your mother should have made plans.
Little kids are not meant to be left alone. Things can happen.
Little kids shouldn't be left alone. Things can happen.
And you're a brave young girl.
And you're a brave young girl.
And I've come to help you through this.
And I've come to help you through.
And you have every right to feel this way.
And you have every right to feel this way.
And I'm sorry you had this experience.
And I'm sorry you had this experience.
So we're going to do one more of the same setup, because this part of here changes the polarity in the body. We usually try to do 3. So even though there's this abandonment in your heart,
there's this abandonment in your heart,
you feel scared. You're left alone with your brother.
You are left alone with your brother.
And you don't know when your mother's coming back.
And you don't know when your mother's coming back.
And it's a constant pattern.
And it's a constant pattern.
And you're only 4 years old.
And you're only 4 years old.
You have every right to feel this way.
You have every right to feel this way.
And I'm really sorry you had this experience.
And I'm really sorry you had this experience.
And this is not fair.
And this is not fair.
And see if you can breathe in your belly. And right here, right now, you're safe and okay.
And right here, right now, you're safe and okay.
This abandonment.
You
were left by yourself. You were left by yourself.
You are left by yourself.
This abandonment in your heart. It was so unfair, but you did the best you could given the circumstances. And I'm really sorry you had this experience. And you're a brave young girl. And I'm here to tell you. You survived it. Right here, right now. You're safe and okay. All of this abandonment. Feeling that you don't matter. It wasn't a very loving thing to be left alone. And it wasn't a smart idea to be left alone. You were only 4. And you did the best you could. Given the circumstances. And you were so brave, you survived it. And I've come to help you through this. And maybe you can let some of this abandonment go. Because it's no longer serving you. And I've also come to stay with you. And you're going to be safe with me. All of this abandonment. You survived it. And you did a great job. And you're a lovely, young, beautiful girl. And you're safe with me. So take a breath, fill your belly, and when you can't hold it anymore, blow it out with force. So finding that love and sending it to the younger self, usually we would do a few rounds, but just even with one round, is she feeling a little different? Just a little bit, because we only did one.
Yes.
Okay. Does she know what she would have liked to have happened?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so we would bring down the emotion to 0, because I'm sure one round didn't do it. We would re-imprint now what she wants to have happen, and we send it on her timeline, the brother's timeline, and the parent's timeline. So we just don't re-imprint her. So we send that image. Why? Because we said before, we're pruning the old synaptic connections, and we're going to create 2 new ones with this new image. And this traumatic memory is going to be retired and time-stamped properly. So eventually it's not going to play out in your life anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much. That was a very interesting experience. Can you tell us, please, how entrepreneurs can find you if they wanted to heal themselves with EFT?
Okay, absolutely. So they can come to my website, tapintourbestself.com. I offer a 30-minute complimentary session. I also teach a neuroscience masterclass on how to change your reality. And I have a blog, and I also have tons of informational audios and podcasts and PDFs that are science-backed on the principles of change with neuroscience and EFT. And the handle is Tap Into Your Best Self on the various social media.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.